But I will introduce her later on, but right now I'm just going to introduce her like Elena Kane. But when Andrew Hayes arrives, that is the representative to the congressman, I will then do a better introduction of Elena Kane and Andrew Hayes. So Elena Kane, you're most welcome, and let's give it up for Elena.
Thank you, Mercy. Hello, everyone. Nice seeing all your beautiful faces out there, and I'm glad you could make it, and for everyone else who couldn't make it, you know, we'll make sure they get all the information. And my name is Ilona Kearney. I'm running for governor against Jay Inslee in 2024, which is next year. And I'm getting out here ahead of everything because I'm not a career politician. So everybody knows them because they've been politicians for years. And well, first let me tell you who I am. I'm an Army veteran. I worked in military intelligence. I'm an entrepreneur, as well as I'm a mother and the wife of a union worker. My main things of my values in my campaign motto is uniting communities and removing labels, because I want to support communities, get back to the framework of what our communities and the foundational that we have in our communities that made our communities good and strong. And now they're kind of like diluted nowadays. And I want to promote equity and inclusion because we don't have a lot of that. It seems like there's an uneven balance in what goes on, in whether it's, like we say, a lot of people complain about the taxes and the way things are, trickle down the stream. And my experience so far in politics is I homeschooled my kids. So when I was homeschooling my kids, I had a nonprofit, and my nonprofit taught the kids, don't say impossible, say I'm possible. And we would have politicians come in and teach them how to write legislative bills and to debate those legislative bills and know how the process works. Because I want them to always feel empowered and know that you still have a voice. Even if you don't get what it is that you want, you still have a voice, you still have a right to speak up and stand up for yourself. And from there, when my kids graduated from homeschool, I went back to college with my kids. And while I was in college, I've also written legislative bill proposals and presented them for legislation on behalf of student veterans, as well as lobbied for college funding and those type of things. And now I'm just taking it a step further because I'm tired of career politicians who always come and make promises and say that they're going to do something and don't do it. While on one hand, I understand that a lot of the promises they make, they can't always do because they need the collective of other legislative members to make those, but don't make promises you can't keep. And I just, want to see change. And sometimes that change is not coming from people who are already, I see a lot of people with, law degrees, but they're able to use those law degrees to create laws against us and loopholes that only they know, and we don't understand the laws. So why not, for a change, let one of us sit in the seat? Because we, as Washingtonians, we know what our communities need. We know what it takes to make our communities better, and nobody's listening to us. So because I don't consider that I'm running for governor, I always say we're running for governor, because I'm out here. How often do you see the governor come and talk to communities? He stays up in his office and he makes all these commercials rather than come to get to know what is going on within each community. And we don't need one-size-fits-all answers, because what works for this community might not work for this community. So it takes getting to know individual communities. So I'm getting out and knowing and understanding communities. And I'm grateful for Mercy, who was able to, talk to me and explain to me about things that were going on. While, no, I can't do anything as a candidate or anything, I am, I'm here to listen, here to learn, and also see where there needs to be a little bit more unity within our government, and how can I make those changes. Because as governor, what governors can do, they can appoint people in positions and to also implement and veto laws and create budgets. So those are the types of things that the governor can do, and how I want to be able to help and be here to listen. I think I speak might be here. But
do you want me to come up to the front? I don't want to interrupt things, so if you're ready for it, I have to talk.
yeah, so I'm going to give the mic back to Mercy, and thank you guys for listening.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, I was finished.
You're finished? Okay, cool. Thanks. I have had lunch. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. That's kind. I'm okay. I ate lunch before I came. Thank you, though. I really appreciate it. All right.
Good afternoon again, everyone. My name is Mercy Kariuki. I am an adult home provider with my husband. Sorry. Yeah. So today we have Mr. Andrew Hayes and Mr. Elona Kane. And I'm going to give you a small, to introduce Andrew, so that you can know who he is, what he does, and what he has done for the Washington state. Representative Andrew Hayes is a South King County District Representative for Congressman Adam Smith. Mr. Hayes is a graduate of Seattle Pacific University. He previously worked with World Relief Seattle, where he supervised a team that petitioned for immigration, legal benefits, and in addition to that, he successfully coordinated fundraising efforts towards immigration and refugee community work. Throughout his career, Mr. Hayes has been involved in community efforts, especially towards refugees, including refugee resettlement. We are grateful to have Mr. Hayes speak to us today.
You did your research.
And then before he starts, I will also introduce Elona, and then I'll give the microphone to Mr. Hayes. MS Elona Kane is an aspiring candidate for Congress, Washington State in 2024, and is a military intelligence analyst veteran. MS Kane holds a bachelor's degree in business administration and entrepreneurship from Evergreen State College. Additionally, she is a forgiveness coach, teaching forgiveness and perception change within the aim of having a productive life. Among many other great achievements, MS Kane wrote and presented a veteran student child care initiative policy before Congress in March 2021, which is now being worked into a House bill. We are honored. We are honored to have Mr. Kane, who will also speak to us today. So now, before we go ahead, I am going to give the microphone to Mr. Andrew Hayes. Let's give it up for Mr. Andrew Hayes.
I just want to say something real quick about Congressman's office, Adam Smith's office. I don't know if it was you who worked on my stuff, but anytime I've filed 3 petitions at their office before, and their office, I've always heard that their office always follows through with everything, even from other constituents. I always hear people say that they follow through, and I live in this district, so you know, I may not always agree with every topic, but they always good at following through and explaining things. So that's why I encouraged you to speak to them.
Thank you, and thanks so much, Mercy, for the kind introduction. It's very nice to be with you all. We appreciate, I think so much of what happens through Congress, people think of politics and they think of division, but really most of what we're focused on is constituent services. So the people that live in our district, what are the concerns, and how do we help address those? So when Mercy called our office, I'm really interested in hearing what the concerns are. As Mercy said, my professional background is largely in working with immigrant communities in South King County. So in particular, when this is affecting some of the immigrant owners of adult family care homes, that's something that personally is of interest and is of interest to the Congressman. There a lot of the issues that come up around this issue are going to be at the state level, and so I've talked with DSHS today to learn some more about what's going on at the state level. And really the role that we'll play largely in our office is just to be a connector and someone that can be, what I like to say, we can be a very loud squeaky wheel. So if you know the saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, we can be a loud squeaky wheel that helps you get some grease. So where you're feeling like there's not movement happening, we want to try and help that happen. Just a couple things that I did want to share that our office has been active in. I know that one of the things Mercy had raised was the difficulty in finding people to work in adult family homes. And obviously we know about the difficulties across the economy to be finding people to be working in essential frontline jobs. And one of the barriers in that we are really cognizant of is the barriers to people who are trying to come through the immigration system and especially are waiting on their work authorization. There are massive backlogs. If any of you yourselves or you have family members that have been waiting to come to the United States, you know how slow our immigration system is. So Congressman Smith last year put in a request and voted in support of an additional $275 million through USCIS and the State Department that was specifically allocated to help with backlogs. And I'll just say that we've seen some improvement. My previous job, I worked in representing immigrants with their legal petitions, and at that time when I left in October of 2021, the average citizenship application was taking about 2 years to get adjudicated in Seattle. Last I checked, that was closer to 6 to 8 months. So you can see some real tangible movement, but there still needs to be a lot more. So that continues to be something as we enter a new year, that's a new opportunity to speak into the budget, and Congressman Smith is committed to seeing more funding so that people can get the work authorization they need and can be reunited with family that they've been waiting for so long to bring over. So that's, and we know that has an effect on the economy. And that will happen later in the spring, just in terms of timing. That's when the budget requests will be happening later in the spring. So, I always encourage people to call their congresspeople. Some of you will live in our district. Some of you probably live in Representative Jayapal's district. Voicing that those kind of things really do, they go up the chain to the congressperson. So we value that. One of the other things that was brought up was the difficulty in getting people to come over on work visas. So if there are people that have the skills and have the desire to work in adult family homes, what are we doing to be able to make it easier for them? And that's the kind of thing that really is involved in comprehensive immigration reform. That's a fancy way of saying we have a broken immigration system and we need to fix it. And trying to do little things here and there is really not where we should be focusing our efforts. So Congressman Smith has been very committed he's been in the Congress since 1996, and he's been very committed for years in trying to reform the immigration system. And one of the main things that we need is we need more common sense visa quotas for the country. We do not allow enough people in to just do temporary work, and so that's something he's committed to. And the reality right now is with a Republican House, that is going to be a very difficult accomplishment to make. Even when we've had a Democratic House and Senate, that's been difficult. But I think in the next 2 years, that's probably not going to move forward. So we have to find other ways that we can make the system work better while we continue to raise the issue of comprehensive immigration reform. So those are some things at like the federal level, which is what Congressman Smith works on. And I'll be happy to share, I don't want to dominate the time right now, but I'll be happy to share a little bit more about what I've learned at the state level, which is DSHS and the specific entity that oversees adult family homes, and they've shared some information with me. But I'll pass it off to you, and then I don't know, you can kind of tell us, Mercy, if you want to open up for questions or more talk. But I'm really grateful to be here, and really what I'd love to walk away with is more on-the-ground perspective from those of you who own homes or are working near them, so that I can be representing your voices when I talk to DSHS and when I talk to the Congressman. Thank you.
Well, you guys already heard from me, I don't need to repeat it. But I think like Andrew, Congressman, from Congressman, about opening up the floor, we can go ahead and do that. If you like anybody have any questions or want to know any more of anything from either of us.
Hi, Rowena. She has really helped in organizing this meeting, and also even making sure that there was something to eat, making sure that the tables were well covered for Andrew to be and Alana to be comfortable. So I think I would love Rowena to just say something. Are you ready, Rowena? Please.
Good afternoon. We're glad that you are here and talk. And I know you guys will help us because we will be persuasive and we'll do our best. Okay. So I'm Lori Del Fiero. I'm a former adult family home for 15 years, and I've been a consultant at the same time. And I closed my home in 2014 and still stayed as a consultant of every adult family home. And I'm also a private investigator. And I concentrate on adult family home issues. If I'm the consultant of an adult family home, and I was hired as their consultant, and they have a dispute with the DHSS, I go with them in administrative court to explain what's the rules and how it happened and why they don't need to get their license be revoked. So our issue right now, that's why we called this meeting, is a lot of homes are getting audited by the laboring industry, and they're getting punished. Like for one home for $300-something thousand. And I have helped other homes to resolve these problems by doing a 3 years audit, doing 3 years calendar, who are the caregivers who got paid and not paid, so that we can resolve, because we do not have that $300,000-something. And besides, I don't know how the state kind of sees this, because if the labor and industry is auditing us for the hours of the caregivers, they have to also audit the state because they are encouraging the way these adult family homes are paid. And I have to explain well to the adult family homes that they have to have contracts with their caregivers so that they cannot always be tagged by the labor and industries. But we need to call the attention of the state because the money is not sufficient to pay the caregivers. For example, there is the assessor of the states. The assessor had not done any hands-on, but they can assess, and they are not nurses, but they can assess clients. And last night I was sent another assessment, and this person has suicidal thing. This person is in the hospital, and this person almost burned the whole house. And they're calling homes who wants to take care of this person. So just that behavior, that person is a one-in-one person. You cannot leave that person even just for 30 seconds because she's suicidal. And they're only wanting to pay $100. How can we get a home or a caregiver to watch that person every minute where the minimum wage is $15.74? And if you put these people on a living contract, you have to provide a board and lodging. The COLA is already $863 something. So food, utilities, to give to these caregivers, and other expenses. How can we afford $100 to watch a person to one-on-one? It doesn't add up. But the state always, when we complain, the state always say, a lot of their social workers said, close your home for 3 months. Why are we going to close the home since we, the adult family home providers, save the state in hundreds of millions, not in a year, not in thousands, in millions. So the labor and industry are coming home to home and auditing the homes, where, as I said, I have investigated this thing. The state is encouraging it. How can we pay the workers when the state doesn't pay the poor people? That's how it is. That's why my question here is, how can you help us with this scenario that the adult family home are facing now? Homes being audited and being accused of owing $300-something thousand for 3 years for non-payment for their caregivers. Where will they get it? Because the money doesn't add up. No matter how you add it, it doesn't add up. The minimum wage went up, COLA went up, food went up, rent went up. So why are the clients rate? The state keeps on putting them down. The rate of these clients is since 15 years ago. We went back 15 years ago on these rates. So this is how we're asking you, how can you help us with this? Because we need to solve this problem, because the only thing that these social workers are saying, close the home. Then get some clients that are high paid. So means to say, they don't want us to get the clients that are state paid. That's why the hospitals are backlogged with lots of clients And they're spending a lot of money in the hospitals anyway. They don't want to pay us right, but they are willing to pay the hospitals and willing to pay the nursing home, right? But if they pay right, they can still save money. They've been saving a lot already. But now our scenario here is the homes are getting updated for the money that they don't receive. So how can we solve this? This is the big problem right now. And now, one of our WRCC, it's a council. It's an organization of some adult family homes. And according to them, they have filed complaint in Olympia because the state does not follow the contract. And I said, why now? This has been a problem for so many years. It's not only now. The state had lost already with the individual providers, Rector versus DHSS. The state lost $104 million for underpaying individual providers. And then again, last month, the news came out that DHSS lost again an individual provider for almost $60 million. The other one was $104 million for underpay. And they keep on continuing, they never earn. They keep on continuing this until now. So now the council went to Olympia complaining. I don't know if something happened because this is an ongoing problem for years, since I had my adult family home. So I would like to give you the mic and how you can say to us and how you can help us with this. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Well, first, I think it's important to just acknowledge how important the role that adult family homes play, always, but especially now. I think all of us know someone that's lived in an adult family home at one time or another. My neighbors were adult family home providers as a child. And I knew that the people who lived there seemed very happy. It was the kind of place where I thought if my parents needed to go somewhere, this would be a great place. So it's a critical piece of infrastructure always, but especially now, like you say, when we have such a shortage in healthcare workers. And the things that you're bringing up sound extremely frustrating. The questions about what can be done, I will, and I think it's important to really clarify the differences here. I will say that this is the kind of thing that DSHS and the state of Washington is going to be the people that directly address it, and again, we can be kind of a squeaky wheel on it. In talking with DSHS this morning, one of the things that they shared was that, and you all would know a lot more about this than I do, is that there is a union, the Adult Family Home Council, is that? Okay, and they said that the secretary from DSHS met with them quite recently, I think it might have been in the last couple of weeks, and that there's a collective bargaining process by which the union works with the state to come up with the rates of reimbursement. And as I understand it, what they shared was that the outcome from the most recent collective bargaining was a pretty significant increase in the reimbursement rates, and that right now is at the Washington State Legislature. So it basically is awaiting approval from the Washington State representatives. So just kind of civics lesson, I work for the U.S. House of Representatives. So my boss works in D.C. He's in D.C. right now. The people that make the decision on this funding are those that work in Olympia. So that would be your Washington State senators and Washington State representatives. So I think the positive thing is that and I'm not sure this exactly addresses the specific point you're bringing up, but the positive thing is that they're acknowledging, it sounds like they're acknowledging the need for significant rate increases commensurate with the increase in the cost of living and all the costs that go up. And the opportunity for advocacy here is to talk directly to your state representatives and your state senators. And I'm happy to share information on how you find those people. A lot of times people, I didn't know my state representatives and state senators a lot in the past, okay? So there's no shame in that. But those are the people that are going to be voting on this and have the power to approve additional rates so that you can be paid a more reasonable, your employees can be paid more reasonable rates, reimbursed at a more reasonable rate. So that's just me being very clear about who has the power to make the decision here. And again, I can kind of be the person that is a go-between somewhat. I think that's. Oh, and then they did talk a little bit about if there is bias. I know that if you feel that there's some kind of bias or unfair treatment, I do have contact information that I can share with you afterwards for a specific staff person that said I could share their contact information. But as I understand it, the first step is talking to the supervisor for case managers. That might be, when we had talked to Mercy, you had talked about case managers, and that at times, some of the first line barrier can be the case manager who you're interacting with. And what they said was the best first step is to start with talking to their supervisor. And again, if that's something that you don't know the contact information for, I'm happy to try and work through systems to find that. So again, I'm not, the specific issue that you're raising, because we are a federal agency and we don't work directly with DSHS because they're outside there, that would be our state representatives and legislatures. I'm kind of sharing what I've heard directly from them, but I think that the best solution here is to have a conversation with your state representatives and state senators, because they are the ones that hold DSHS accountable, if that makes sense.
Is there a Senate bill or something that they can follow or comment on?
That's a great question. Yeah, and I'm not quite sure on what the number of that is, and I'm not as familiar with the collective bargaining, how collective bargaining works with DSHS. Again, there's a good chance, I'm learning about this morning from DSHS, so there's a good chance that you know more about it. But I'm happy to look into that, and if I can find one, I'll send it to Mercy, and I don't know if you're the person to kind of distribute that to the group. Yeah.
I've got the bill. Let's see, I'll put it out.
And when he sends that, there's sometimes like on there, you can click on it and you can send in a comment as well about, like if you individually want to write in support of the bill to encourage them to vote for it.
Yeah. That's a great point. I mean, how this works, it's as simple. It literally is just find the number for your, and I can send a link. If you just Google find Washington State Representative, you'll put in your zip code. It will show you who your representatives are, and you can just call their office. There will be somebody like me on the other end of the phone, or if you get a voicemail, you leave a voicemail. And that's how the democratic process works, right? We hear directly from constituents and we respond to that.
There's also on the site, anytime that you want to know about any bills that are coming out about immigration, like if that's something that concerns you, that you can click on there and it'll send you an email alert like, oh, there's a new bill being presented, and you can look at it to see what's going on in it, who's sponsoring that bill, and if you want to call and make an appointment and talk, just like you guys got in touch with Andrew, that you can get in touch with someone and say, hey, we'd like to speak about this, I don't like this, or yes, I'm in support of it, and it'll keep you up to date on those type of things. And I know it's somewhere on the website as well. Anyone else want to share or tell us about your experience?
Yeah, what I was